Hey, this is Warner Crocker from GottaBeMobile.com coming to you with another GottaBeMobile.com Ink Show. Before we get started on the subject of this Ink Show today, let's first take a moment and give a big shout out and thank you to our Ink Show sponsor, the good folks at Mobile Demand, makers of rugged tablet PCs and other rugged things. Head on over to www.mobiledemand.com. Check out what they've got to offer. From GottaBeMobile.com sent you. We'll be happy, they'll be happy. We'll be able to keep doing these Ink Shows. All right, this is an Ink Show that's going to actually talk about some inking. How about that? We're starting to see some Windows tablets coming out now. I've got the Tega V2 here. I've also got a Lenovo tablet right here, the X201. And I've got a bunch of different styli. And I've got the iPad right here. And we're going to do a little bit of inking here. Now, this isn't necessarily, but in the end it is, a comparison about what does best. Nothing beats Windows 7 on a tablet PC that's designed with inking as one of the primary features. Boom, end of statement. You're going to see that in just a second. But there's a couple of new apps out for the iPad that make inking on this almost tolerable. One, in fact, that I like a lot that makes inking really well. It's actually going to displace my favorite inking app on the iPad so far. And we've got the Tega V2 here that has a capacitive screen, and you can do some inking on it depending on the stylus that you're using, at least what I've discovered so far. So we're going to take a look at some inking on all three of these. We're going to look at in OneNote on both the Tega and on the Lenovo, and a couple of apps here. Now, I've taken some flack because of some of the things I've said about Windows on tablet PCs and a couple of later Ink Shows and posts that I've been doing. And some of my other GBM colleagues have as well. But let's just get this point straight before we actually get to this. Like I said earlier, nothing beats a Windows tablet PC designed with inking in mind for giving you a smooth inking experience. Period. End of statement. The Tega V2, I'm guessing the HP Slate. I'm guessing anything else that comes out with Windows 7 in a tablet form factor, just not going to add up for the same reason that the iPad doesn't add up. What's the advantage that the iPad may have? Well, you got all these developers out there who are creating applications, apps if you will. It's an app world after all, where they're working on different kinds of palm rejection, wrist protection, you name it, they call it all kinds of things that are actually might succeed down the road here, depending on your inking preference. By that I mean, how do you take notes? What do you need to do to take notes in digital ink? For me, it's rehearsal. I'm scribbling notes while I'm watching something ahead of me, just like this. Okay? Can't take my eye off the stage. I want to scribble my notes down. I can't afford to pay attention to what's going on with my hand, with the stylus on the surface of the device. That's how I take notes. In a meeting, it's a little different. I can afford to be a little more delicate with how I'm writing things. But for most of my work in rehearsal, it just doesn't add up for me. Your inking experience may be entirely different. Sumacat, some of the prettiest inking I've ever seen on a blog or anywhere else. I can't imagine that he's scribbling things down the way I am. Okay, it's just a different kind of thing. And I'm sure there's many different ways of inking and preferences and styles of inking as there are tableteers out there to deal with it. So let's keep that context in mind. I'm talking to you from how I use inking on a tablet PC. That may not be how you use it, so base your feelings about that, your assessment of what I'm about to say on that, and see how we go from there. All right, without any further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around so that you can see the surfaces that I'm working with, and we're going to take a look at some inking on these different form factors. We'll be right back. Okay, we've turned the camera around. We're back. As you can see, I've got OneNote open here on this Lenovo X201 Tablet PC. Remember, this tablet, I've got touch and pen here. As you can see, I've already laid down some ink, but this is a benchmark. This is what all of us who've worked with tablet PCs start from when we talk about the smoothness of laying down ink. So let's get started here. First I'm going to go up to the draw menu, actually touch that, pick a pen, and I'm just going to ink. This is smooth inking. It just lays down very easily. There's no resistance, there's no nothing, there's no skipping. Even though this is touch and pen, okay, I can put my wrist on the screen and I can work with this. This is the benchmark. This is what we want to see on any tablet or Slate device that may be coming out here. iPad included, okay? So everybody understand what the benchmark is? Good. All right, let's go ahead and set this aside. Let's come over here. I'm going to wake up the Tega V2 here from sleep. And I've got 3 different styli here. Hopefully I'm going to wake it up. There we go. Alright. Now, I'm going to flip this around in landscape mode simply because the narrow screen here. Now I've got OneNote closed down here, and obviously I can close this down even more to deal with that, but this is how I would prefer if I'm going to be using this form factor to ink. Let me make sure I'm in the screen here. Now, the 3 styli that I have here, I've got the Targus or the Boxwave stylus. Get that up close to the camera there. Hopefully that will, well, it's going to probably be out of focus there, but it's got kind of a hard, soft tip. I'll explain what that means in a second. This is the Milano stylus, and I'll put links to some of the posts that I've talked about these different styli in. This has a much harder tip for a capacitive screen, and this is the Pogo Sketch. Okay, the Pogo Sketch is very soft. All right, we'll start with the Pogo Sketch. I'm just going to scroll down here, and you will see. Can't put my hand here because if I do, then I'm going to end up with stray marks there, so I've got to keep my hand above. This is the Pogo Sketch. It works. I've got to apply a lot of pressure, and because of the soft sponginess of this stylus tip, this is going to wear down pretty darn quick, I think. And if I'm working in a rehearsal situation where I'm watching and not paying attention to what I do, you can see that as I scroll fast, and I'm trying to make words here, I honestly am, this is what happens, okay? So, let's pick up one of the other styli here. Let's take a look at the Boxwave or the Targus. The reason I say Boxwave or Targus is somebody's making these. There are a number of different distributors, Boxwave and Targus being 2 of them, that are selling the exact same thing. All right, this is a little better, okay? You can see when I'm making fast swoops there, I might run into some problems, but if I keep a gentle pressure here, unlike the Pogo Sketch, I can do pretty well. Okay? This, if I'm going to be working on the Tega V2, is going to be my best bet. Now, that said, one of the other factors that we deal with on tablet PCs is the tip. Not having any success with any of these styli using the tip here, and you'll see why. First, you're going to want to move the tip down to the bottom of the screen, okay, so that you have something to rest your hand on. Okay, seems pretty easy. And you can hopefully see that it's recognizing this. But the minute I get fast, okay, I run into some problems here. And, that's what we expect in terms of dealing with. Actually, this is performing better than it had performed in my testing earlier, so that's a good thing. So there you have it. But what I would offer you is that we've got to look for a stylus that works well with this kind of capacitive screen. Again, if I've got gentle pressure going here, I'm in good shape. Alright? This is the Milano stylus. It's got that hard tip. Okay. You maybe can hear that. to get anything going with any consistency, I've got to really tap on the screen. Not something that I want to do. Again, my note-taking preference, fast, furious, okay? That's how that works, okay? So that's what it looks like on the Tega V2. I'm guessing, although I don't know, haven't had my hands on it, going to feel a similar experience with the HP Slate. Again, it's going to depend on what the stylus and that stylus surface is before we know what kind of success we're going to have with that. Stylus is going to be a crucial factor for all of these Windows 7 slates, regardless of what they're dealing with here. All right, let's take a look at the iPad and a couple of these apps that I'm talking about here. All right, first up, we're going to take a look at one called Notes Plus. Now, you know, because I've been showing you in a couple of other things, we actually did an ink show about some different applications, that Penultimate is the app that I use the most just because of the smoothness of inking. Well, Notes Plus is a pretty full-featured notes application here. I'm not sure if you can see, I've done a lot of inking with that. And it has a pretty unique way of dealing with palm rejection. You saw that gray pop up there? It's called a palm pad. Okay, you move it down and it's gone. Okay, there's no palm rejection here at the moment. But I'm going to hit that, bring it up, pull this back down, and now my hand can rest on the bottom of the palm, bottom of the screen here as far as that's concerned. Let's go ahead and open up another notebook here. All right, let's bring this up here. So if I'm starting up here, wherever my hand is in this gray area, and of course I just crashed the app. How about that? Maybe I'm writing too fast. All right, let's go back to that again. Bring up the palm pad. Bring it up. You can see it's going to move down the page as I move down the page. Now, again, I said this is full featured. If you take a look up here at the top, you can see there's a microphone. You can record. You can do a lot of things. Interestingly enough, a lot of these apps would like to be one note. They're not, but they'd like to be. But this is another solution. It works reasonably well. This doesn't replace Penultimate for me. Let's take a look at Penultimate here. Let's go back there. Notice that's right there on the first screen that I have. This is the smoothest inking so far. Or is it? Okay, let's go back a screen or two here to something called Noteshelf. Now, first let's take a look at this. Kind of looks like iBooks, doesn't it? Noteshelf, get it? They're trying to borrow that iBooks shelf thing. Not really a big fan of that. It's a bell and a whistle if you ask me. But they give you, you can choose your different covers for your notebooks. In other words, when you create a notebook, they're going to be on this shelf. Okay, that's how that works. And you get to choose the type of paper and all this other kind of fun stuff. Interestingly enough, this, if you can see here, this little red triangle there, that's going to tell you where your palm rejection or wrist protection is. See this blue hand here? That tells me that it is on. So as I start writing, that is going to move down the screen. Now, as far as laying digital ink on the screen with any kind of palm or wrist protection, this is now the smoothest experience that I have found for the iPad. It comes the closest excuse me, to a full-fledged tablet PC. It's not OneNote by any means. Interesting enough, a lot of folks commenting on this app love how it lays down ink, but you can't enter text on this. There's no way to pop up a keyboard. And we're all looking for everything. We want to be able to enter text. We want to be able to ink. We want to be able to have audio recording. No audio recording here. That's it. You can insert photos. Okay. You can insert some icons if you choose to do that. If once the pen is selected, you've got these different little colored crayons there that you can choose for the ink color, and you can do what you need to do with that. Another interesting feature is that when the palm protection is on, it makes it more difficult for you to turn the page. Purposely so. That's a feature. You have to actually kind of slide that there instead of just pressing on the number to go to another page. That's so that your wrist doesn't accidentally flip you to the next page as far as that's concerned. You can see here the different pages as I've been testing this out, and we've got, here's where we can choose the paper and what our notebooks look like and all of that, and several different types of categories if that's what you're into, and dealing with that. This brush here, basically, if you're still in a notebook, in other words, if you haven't closed it out, okay, or turned the page, you've got an undo feature here, or we've got a clear. Okay, boom, ink is all gone. So at this point, and I'm going to show you that with the Milano stylus, this is still smoother with this harder stylus, which I don't like as much on the iPad because you really have to lay some pressure down. And also with the Pogo Sketch, so purely for laying down digital ink, which is what I need to do when I'm in rehearsal. Quick, boom, lay it down, here I go. Don't have to focus where my hand is, what the stylus is doing. I think Noteshelf is going to be the next choice for my next rehearsal period with my next show. It's going to replace Penultimate. At least that's going to be the test that I'm going to give a try to. So there you have it, some inking on a tablet PC, Windows 7, on Windows 7 Slate, the Tega V2, and here on the iPad. Windows 7 tablet PCs, again, that's the class of the act. Okay, we know what they are, we know what they can do. We'd like everything in this form factor or this form factor to be as good as that. They're not going to be. My hunch is we're going to get there closer on the iPad because of all of the work that developers are doing to create these apps. And we've shown you a number of them here at GBM where they're looking to find that solution. Folks are out there want to take notes in digital ink on these devices, whether it be the iPad or whether it be the Tega V2 or the HP Slate. They want to take notes on those devices in ink. Someone's going to solve it. Microsoft obviously hasn't yet. We'll see what happens. All right, this is Warner Crocker for GottaBeMobile.com with another GBM InkShow, and saying thanks for listening. Make sure you head over to Mobile Demand. They are our InkShow sponsor at www.mobiledemand.com. How's that for some really bad spelling? But anyway, you get the idea. I laid that out pretty quick as I was saying it there, and you can see that. And that's with the Pogo Sketch. All right, we'll hopefully catch you on the next InkShow.